Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me, Munchie, and welcome back to another Munchie video here at the rescue. For those of you who are new, hello, my name is Munchie and I operate a rescue here in Washington State that helps out hamsters, gerbils, and mice. And today I am specifically going to be talking to you guys about gerbil care, specifically what gerbils go inside of, what is and is not appropriate, and hopefully this video is very insightful for you guys out there, because usually I don't really make a lot of care guides, but you guys have been asking me to at least do a gerbil video, and we have had gerbils at the rescue for a while now, and yet I have not been getting around to making videos about them. My apologies. You can always check us out on Instagram and see their updated stories and our newest intakes. So let's get into it. Gerbil care requires tanks. Why is that, you might ask? Well, gerbils have very powerful incisors that unfortunately can chew through the toughest of plastics. If you guys thought like PVC pipe was pretty thick plastic and would be okay, wrong. They can chew through that. You think that your little tiny critter shell cage could stop them from chewing that little flimsy plastic? Wrong. No. They desperately do need tanks, and in the wild they live in colonies, so they are a very social animal that has a tunnel system, and so tanks are actually one of the perfect choices for gerbils, not just because of the incisors, but because of what they can at least naturally find in the wild can be replicated here in tanks. There are some tanks you see right here, like these two that I'm showing you today, that have what is known as tank toppers. Besides just providing enough space for gerbils in the tank itself, tank toppers are actually a good addition for gerbils because they can be a great source to house your water, food if you want to, if you don't scatter feed, and can provide places for you to put your wheel. While this is all about tanks, let me at least tell you about the gerbil size for wheels here. The minimum, it seems, just from everybody's senses, is that an 8-inch wheel is bare minimum for gerbils, just because you gotta take into consideration their tails and how they can stretch out. So tails, even though they can curl up, might not be as comfortable to them, so just keep that in mind. Gerbils can actually get quite big, they can get quite overweight, so a wheel is definitely recommended, and or if you do not use a wheel inside enclosures here, you must fill up your enclosure all the way to the top with bedding, just because you want to provide the most amount of space for them to burrow, because that's what they naturally do in the wild. They will continuously keep burrowing, scavenging, foraging, you name it, so you must be providing enough enrichment for them, which gerbils get compared to hamsters a lot. Hamsters, they don't really require a lot of bedding, unlike gerbils. Gerbils absolutely need it due to the way they are programmed up here. So this is also a wheel for a gerbil, and it is a wood wheel, mind you. These two wheels are really great because one is hard plastic, which they cannot chew very well. Also, this is a Night Angel wheel, and I love it. And then this one is a wooden wheel, which is more natural to them because, like I said before, gerbils can't chew through plastic, especially very flimsy plastic. So a wooden wheel is a good idea, but just keep in mind they will chew it up, just like this poor little stump right here. Do you see the stand? It's just chewed up to pieces, so just keep that in mind. But this is an 11-inch gerbil wheel, and you want to make sure that the 8 to 12-inch wheels that you're going to be placing inside your enclosures for gerbils can fit comfortably inside of there. Now, gerbils, do they necessarily need wheels? Like I said before, if they don't use wheels, they have to have all their bedding filled up. They have to have that enrichment. And really, when you go to fill up your tanks, you don't necessarily need to be adding a whole bunch of climbing toys or things that might get in the way, because what ends up happening is you have this space right here where they will constantly just want to tunnel. So I do recommend at least placing in a couple of hides for them, whether it be wood or ceramic hides, not plastic hides, and just letting them dig their own tunnels. They will actually put the bedding in their mouth, they can like chew on it a little bit, and then just like plaster, paste it to the sides where they want to have their dens. And some people can actually see this in action. You might see in your tank your gerbil at the side of the corner pushing the walls up, and you're like, how did you make that? A lot of it has to do with saliva. So just keep in mind when trying to get your gerbil out, you might be touching all that bedding that's been in their mouths. So that is why it is very crucial to make sure you have the right setup for your gerbil. Gerbils also are very powerful when it comes to jumping. So it might be actually a good idea if you would like to section off your tanks. Now, when you go to section off your tanks, make sure you're at least leaving space for there to be a lot of bedding. The bedding minimum is around 8 inches of bedding, with 10 plus being more ideal. And I'll get into about the sizes of these tanks here soon here, but I just want to cover the basics of gerbil keeping, because you might be wondering about this right over here, and I will get to that. Don't worry, guys. This right here has at least 10 inches of bedding inside of here, so there is actually lots of dips and ups and downs because the gerbils will tunnel. They will kick their bedding, they will kick it back out, and they will create their own natural environment. Now, keep in mind, bedding should be a lot of different materials for them. They really should have some hay, maybe some straw in there. You gotta get some sticks, you gotta get some wood. Paper is definitely a good option to have for them, but just stuff that is natural to them. Make sure to avoid cedar and pine because those are unsafe woods due to the toxicity inside of those woods seeping out and possibly causing respiratory issues. You want to provide several nesting materials and get creative, because if you add straw definitely can hold up the structure of burrows a lot better. So you could try stuff like that. Just please don't use any cotton fluff. Unlike hamsters that can pouch their food, gerbils will not really pouch bedding, but it's a good idea not to add something that is not necessarily easy to break down like cotton. So please don't add cotton fluff. I wouldn't even trust bamboo fluff at this point. I just don't use anything fluff really, because bedding will, if done correctly and if at the right height for them to stay safe and keep warm, can regulate their temperatures in hot or cold. So you'll see them most likely inside rather than on top when it comes to sleeping. There is some gerbils in some conditions where they will be on the surface or rather sleep up top. Could be due to climate, humidity, them being older, them not being able to move around as much anymore. So just keep that in mind, that it's natural for gerbils to be remaining in their burrows where it is safe to them and they can regulate their heat a lot better. But when it comes to separating, just make sure to at least have a separator of some sort, whether it be like a platform or a bendy bridge, to push most of the bedding to one side so you can still have that area for them to dig in, while also placing inside of it a wheel that they won't bury with their bedding, because just like hamsters, everything that's on the surface will eventually change and start sinking into the ground just like quicksand. But for this one right here, I'll show you what I currently have inside of here, because this one is empty. I'm gonna have to clean it. We just adopted out some gerbils at the rescue, but I wanted to show you what they were at least set up in. Now, when it comes to gerbils and their teeth health and their enrichment health, always supplying them every couple of days with new chew toys is an absolute must. You really need to be supplying them with chew toys because they will go to work taking them apart. It is a good idea to do that every couple of days. I understand that not everybody has the money and time for that, but just keep in mind, if you are going to be owning gerbils, you must at least be providing them with some sort of chew, and they have to daily be chewing. It's not like hamsters where they take their time or they will only chew on specific things when they want to or when they're bored. You definitely need to supply your gerbil with chews constantly. But this is actually safe recycled cardboard that you can find easily in Amazon packages or just packages in general that people like to put. These are really great when it comes to holding up a structure, which actually you probably saw there before I took this out. There's one actually right over there. The gerbils that were in here, the three sisters, Sable, Mabel, and Label, or Labelle, they use this as something to hide under and to make structures underneath it, which was pretty ingenious of them. I also have a very old, I believe this is a rosewood hide / climbing toy. It's not really a hide anymore, but they chewed this up quite a bit. I'm not going to be reusing it because of the damage that you clearly can see, but this is actually a good separator as well before they start getting bedding through it and under it. But they chewed up a lot of the structure of it. But they are very powerful, like I said before, and this is just really great in here as something structural. They can go underneath it, which at a time when they were rearranging their colony here that they've created, they would actually come out of it in certain areas. Other areas, they would just completely bury it and not use it. So that's what's really cool about gerbils. They will constantly be going to work, and it's so much fun to watch them as well. So let's actually talk about the sizing, because that is very important. That is why I have this one here to compare with this one right here. So this one at the end here is a 10-gallon tank. The thing on top of it is a tank topper, like I said before, and this one has it as well. This is a 20-gallon high tank, and it has a very large tank topper, which actually is, I want to say, the exact same size as this. I probably could take it off and compare it, but you have a lot of space up here. Plus, there's 2 entryways on this one, which is really nice, and this is a custom tank topper. And there's also tank toppers on Etsy, but for this one was from an actual website that deals with tank toppers. But anyways, there's the front here that you can easily access, and this right here, which makes it a lot easier too when it comes to taking out stuff and putting stuff in. And it seals like that. There is a top compartment here, which on top of this, people might be wondering, well, do gerbils get bumblefoot? It is very, very, very less common to get bumblefoot, and some people even say that it's not even possible to get bumblefoot on gerbils. But there is possibilities of having foot injuries and having them being walking on metal here, because metal, especially for tank toppers, are a lot harder to clean depending on the surface area. So just keep that in mind, that they are not like hamsters where they're very sensitive and cannot have metal grids underneath them. They can, but I would highly recommend for wheels out there that you don't do a metal wheel, because they can catch their tails inside of it, and I've had accidents happen. Not here, but just past people I have been in contact with who have stated their gerbils lost their tails due to the wheel they were using, which was a metal grid wheel or a double stand wheel metal grid, which is very bad and dangerous to their tails. So that's why a solid surface is always going to be recommended. There is about 16 inches worth of bedding that you can put inside of here. And that is great because you can fill this up. Without the tank topper, you're going to, if you were using a wheel, have to separate a section of it, and that could be kind of annoying to do. So that's why tank toppers are so great. They do have that upper area which mimics that of the wild, where they're like, okay, this is my den, this is my burrow. I'm gonna come up to the surface, grab my stuff, forage a little bit, run around, try to get the energy out with a wheel, which let me just demonstrate right now. There's the 11-inch wheel. I don't know if a 12-inch wheel would be able to fit inside of here, but definitely 11-inch wheel can fit. So you see that right there? It is currently safely in, and they can run and do whatever they want on it. But for the metal grids up here, I did happen, just because of the mess, put a metal plate down. And I would suggest doing that just for the ledges up here, not for these ones down here, unless it's a small section of it, like maybe, say for instance, under the wheel itself, just because remember guys, they need to have airflow down here. This up here is providing the only place for airflow, so please don't take that away from them. So let's move on to this itty bitty little thing here. This is a 10-gallon tank. It's about 20 inches by 10 inches, which is 200 square inches, and it is about 12 inches high. While you can definitely stack 12 inches of bedding inside of here, and that would be fine, unfortunately, it's just not giving them enough room if you can compare it to something like this. A 20-gallon high is 288 square inches, but it does have a very high height of 16 inches. So with this right here, this one you can clearly find much more easier in the United States at pet stores versus the United Kingdom, where it's a lot easier to find different types of gerbil terrariums. But unfortunately, in the United States, we are just really not geared towards gerbils like the UK. And if I say in any videos in the future, because I'm now trying to catch me from doing this, the United Kingdom, I won't add an S on the end. For those of you who are wondering, I used to say all the time, Goodwills when it was Goodwill. It is just something that's been in my head for a long time. I always add S's at the end of everything. I apologize. Thank you for understanding. There is a very small opening here. That's the only opening, and that's another downside. Some of these enclosures, if you want to access your gerbil down here, you would have to go through here and go all the way down here. And trying to clean this is kind of a bother. For this, like I said before, 200 square inches versus 288 square inches, but you can definitely see the difference when compared to them. So let me turn this one. This one actually is quite heavy now with the wheel inside of it too, but you can really, if I position this correctly, see and tell the difference here. So what about this 40-gallon breeder tank right here? Well, 40-gallon breeder tanks are 648 square inches of floor space, and they do have a height for bedding about 16 to 17 inches tall. This right here has a lot bigger space, so you can more easily divide your terrarium to have a wheel inside of it while also having a ton of bedding stacked up here. But whenever I use the 40-gallon breeder tanks in the rescue, I usually try to fill them up with at least 8 inches of bedding. This enclosure is definitely more ideal for 2, at least here at the rescue. And just when talking to people online about how many gerbils do you think would be more suited in a 40-gallon breeder tank, and as a minimum, a lot of people said 3 gerbils, some even saying 4 gerbils. And like I said before, it really depends on the space, and you just don't want to have a lot of smaller mammals in something small because of stress and behaviors that when in an area with too many animals, they can start to get territorial. For gerbil owners out there, you are very aware that gerbils can declan other gerbils, so they're not going to be all hunky-dory and social with each other for long. Just like if you're best friends back in maybe kindergarten and unfortunately you separated when it came to middle school, that happens. So it really does depend on the gerbil, your setup, their personality, but it's still very common for gerbils to just not get along in something. But just keep in mind, when it comes to the size of environment, there definitely is minimums in place to protect gerbils and to make them comfortable and relaxed. Unfortunately, we do not speak gerbil, so we cannot tell what they are thinking, or if they're gonna say, I'm planning to attack my sister next Sunday. She's been kind of annoying me a little bit there with a and I'm getting so tired of it. I'm just gonna attack her next Sunday. It's like we don't know when these things happen. So just keep in mind when getting gerbils, when getting any social animal, any sort of social animal can fall out with another social animal. But anyways, there is the enclosures for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video and the information inside of it. If you guys enjoyed today's video, hit like to show the love and support. Comment down below anything you would like to say in regards to gerbil care or maybe your gerbil buddies, and subscribe if you're new here and would like to become a part of the Munchkin family and see more at the rescue and more care guides in the future. So thank you guys so much for everything, and of course, as always, I hope to see you in the next video. And thank you guys so much for your patience during 2020. It has been an absolute roller coaster for me and probably for you guys as well. So thank you for staying put, being supportive, and hopefully we can all get through 2020 together. By the time this video comes out, it might be 2021, so hallelujah. All right, guys, take care. Bye.